Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the SFL podcast presented by APM Music here on Twitch TV. I am, of course, your host, Jack Brown, joined alongside me by Ramos Lynn and Mighty RX. And this week, we got some quarterfinal action to break down for you. And, of course, well, first off, let's look at that new quarterfinal bracket so far. We have the Tallahassee Pride. We're going to take on the Indianapolis Red Devils after the Red Devils is showing against San Antonio. And we're going to have the Alaska Storm taking on the Mexico City Aztecs after, of course, what the Aztecs did to Oklahoma City. We're going to be having the Tulsa Desperados taking on the Houston Hyenas. And finally, the Sioux Falls Sparrows taking on the Queen City Corsairs, of course. And, well, let's roll the clock back a bit to Wednesday night, Wild Card Wednesday. And the first game that night was, of course, Indianapolis versus San Antonio. Indianapolis did not make that game easy for them. Mighty, what do you really have to say about this great little game right here?
Well, man, Indy came out the gates. You know, there was a feeling out process the first couple of drives, and then Indy just started slinging that rock deep down the field. And it looked like San Antonio really didn't have an answer for that. They couldn't really get pressure the way they usually get pressure. Indy's running game kind of lit up as well. So, like, it was a very well played game by Indy. San Antonio, they've been kind of reeling, heading down the stretch there. They were looking kind of sitting pretty after their victory over the Storm in that front page Twitch game. But after that, it seemed like, I don't know if they kind of rested on their laurels. I can't specifically explain what happened there. I just know that Indy came and it looked like they had a plan in mind of how they wanted to attack. And, you know, once they got the jitters of that first playoff appearance out of the way, they kind of asserted their will, took a kind of, a little commanding lead there, and San Antonio kind of made it a game. In the waning seconds there. But congrats to Indy, convincing win going on the road. We know going on the road is not a simple thing to do in the SFL. So big ups there. And again, Eli McCormick, player of the game right there. 10 big grabs, diving grabs, jumping over defenders' heads, giving them the okie doke on double moves routes. Just let's see if Indy could kind of recreate that magic, having to hit the road again, going to Tallahassee to face the undefeated Pride.
Alrighty, and Ramos, this is the game that came on for yours on Wild Card Wednesday. What were your feelings about this, looking at how Indy and San Antonio performed?
Pretty much a little bit the same. I think the Red Devils did a great job on exploiting that non-star corner, the second corner that the San Antonio Vaqueros have. Obviously, Eli McCormick had a monster day, 10 catches, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And just how efficient Nathan Lee was in the ballgame. He only missed 6 throws out of 32, had almost 300 yards. Obviously, that helped a lot, And then on the turnovers, I always say how turnovers can be a big part of football, and points off of those turnovers. Indy were able to score 14 points. San Antonio only 3. So, that's the difference. That's 11 points. The game ended 28-18. So, and, just how good Indy looked on defense. Some of the passing yards that San Antonio has are really kind of inflated, per se, because it seems that those corners were all over those receivers. So, really nice win by Indy. They were in command of the entire ball game from beginning to end. Congratulations to them for being for getting their first win in franchise history in the playoffs. And yeah, I really love their secondary. The quarterback's playing really well. They have great receivers. So let's see what Indy can do for the rest of this postseason.
Alrighty, and now, of course, before we keep going with this Wildcard Wednesday, let's look forward again to Monday. Everybody, you're going to be having your day off. But, of course, on that day off, you're going to be watching the Tallahassee Pride welcome the Indianapolis Red Devils. So, Mighty, what do you think about this now looking forward for Indianapolis?
This is the first ever matchup between the Red Devils and the Pride. Indy, very well rounded. Number 4 offense, number 4 defense. The Pride, nothing to sneeze at either. Number 1 offense in all the land. Number 2 defense. So this is a very good matchup here that we're going to have. Indy with their 5 DBs. Tallahassee wanted to throw the ball all over the pitch, as my man Liam would say. Surprisingly enough, Tallahassee's run D, number 16. So there's a possibility of controlling the clock if if it's feeling to go that route. If Indy's successful in that route as well, because sometimes Tallahassee's offense, they get a lead, teams become impatient, wanting to keep pace as opposed to stick to the game plan. They fall in the trap. That 4-star D line kind of begins to get their hair lit on fire, to running after the quarterback, trashing old linemen and anybody who stands, in their way, playing meet me at the quarterback. So that's a recipe for disaster. If you're trying to be in a race with Tallahassee and try to match them point for point, that's not the road to go. You'd have to, kind of have a ball control offense, take your shots when you can, defensively, keep a body on those big play receivers, Kenny G, Duke Wilson, force Christian Christensen to have to work the field, maybe intersperse some running game in there and make him have to work clock and gain every blade of grass. Having said all that, Tallahassee's been through it, double overtime with Atlanta, behind the 8 ball against Mexico City. They just find a way to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat again and again, until they show otherwise. I cannot go against them. I like their Pride in a very nip and tuck ball game to pull it out late. Definitely on Monday night, but it's going to be one heck of a game. One heck of a game on Monday night.
It surely will be. Ramos, do you really agree with what Mike says here about this very tough matchup here for both Tallahassee and Indy?
When I look at the numbers, I will say yes. However, here's the thing, and this is going to be the key of it. If Indy can avoid being sacked, like if they can avoid for the quarterback to be tackled behind the line of scrimmage, I really like Indy. I do, because again, we go back to what I said on the previous game, how Eli McCormick was able to just go ahead and beat that number 2 non-star corner. I think if the Indianapolis Red Devils can put their wide receiver in those type of situations, one-on-one against the non-star corner, I think Nathan Lee can throw for like 450 yards on them. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, I can see how with the correct scheme, throwing the ball to him, trying to exploit that deficiency, probably, if I can say it that way, of the Tallahassee Pride defense, they can do it. But again, it goes to the line of scrimmage. If they, that being the Red Devils, can contain that defensive line. I'm not saying shutting down, 0 sacks, but if they can contain it a little bit, I think Indy has a really, really good shot, because what Indy can stop really well on defense is this strength of the Tallahassee offense. Those 5 defensive backs against those 2 wide receivers. If Indianapolis rotates their safeties towards those wide receivers, let's say they have one of their safeties on top of Duke Wilson, they have another safety on top of Kenny G. I think Indianapolis has a really, really good shot, and I'm going with the upset. I think the Red Devils will be able to pull this one out.
Ooh, no, that's a pretty spicy little prediction right there, Ronald. Keep that in the back of your heads, everybody, going into Monday. Once again, let's turn back the clock a bit to old Wednesday night, as the Mexico City Aztecs squished the Oklahoma City Renegades in their first playoff game since the Season 2 championship. So that is roughly 4 years, folks, since Oklahoma City has been to the playoffs. Mighty, what do you really have to say about looking back at this performance here for the Renegades?
Congrats to the Renegades for getting over that hump. Congrats to Ron Nickens for getting there. But I don't know what it was about this game, if they were just happy to just make it to the playoffs, but it almost feel like they didn't get off the bus to play the game. And, in the first half, they looked lethargic. They didn't look like they were in it. No, not trying to discredit what Mexico City did, because Mexico City came with a game plan, and though the game might not have been as a pretty game, but they asserted Ray Bentley early, often, and they were like, you know what, we're gonna come here. It doesn't have to be pretty. We're just gonna take care of business and move on, and that's exactly what Mexico City did. And OKC looked like after halftime is when they started to realize, wow, this is a game that we need to play. If we're, there's the other team is not just going to roll over and let us win. We got to compete. And that's when they started putting up some yardage and whatnot. And, in the fourth quarter, they were able to put 2 touchdowns up and kind of make the score look more respectable. But Mexico City came to play. Ray Bentley looks like he doesn't look like the old Ray Bentley. He looked like the Ray Bentley of old, mashing through defenders, hurting people's feelings, hurting family members' feelings. Oh my gosh, that's not my husband, kind of deal. So, man, Mexico City, they're starting to turn it up. And this last month, they're looking like that champion from last season. I don't envy the task of whoever they have to play next.
Who are they playing next there, Mike?
You tell me, Jack. You tell me.
We'll get to that in a minute. Ramos, how do you really feel about this game coming out of it?
Yeah, and even in the Discord channel, Frank Gooden was kind of doing a little game. To beat this team, you have to do this and do that. For me, what I said, to beat OKC, one of the things we had to do, I think, was staying away from those safeties, because Al Clint, low-key, was number 2 in the league in interceptions. He had 8 interceptions in the season, sorry. So basically, our game plan for this game, as Mighty said, was running the ball against the number 3 run defense, because we were confident in our offensive line, on our running back, on our defense to give the ball back to our offense. And I think we did a really good job, especially in the first half. We got a kind of a lucky interception and a tip ball. And, overall, our linebackers really played very well against Dunk Bunkers and that offense of the OKC Renegades. So even though they were sometimes catching the ball, the defense was fast to tackle them. And that's something that really helped us getting the ball often, and obviously give the ball to Bentley, short passes, and able to pull up this very important victory at home.
Alrighty, and to those who may be asking, well, who is Mexico City playing? Well, on Monday night, Mexico City is playing Alaska. That is right, folks. We're having a battle of everybody in the podcast on Monday night between Mexico City and Alaska. For those who don't know, I am the linebacker for the Mexico City Aztecs. So, Mighty, how are you feeling about coming into this game against your fellow podcaster, I guess?
I could sound like, the guy full of bravado. I love our chances. We're going to mop the floor with those guys. Yeah, I don't feel like that guy right now. So it's a lot. Been spending a lot of time trying to figure out where the weakness is in their defense. There is none. Trying to figure out how to make sure that my defense can stop Ray Bentley. It's kind of difficult. So having said all that, Mexico City in this matchup brings in the number 12 scoring offense. Alaska brings in the number 3 scoring defense in all the land. Mexico City has the number 1 defense, stinking Ramos, taking that towel away from Alaska, who's had it the last 2 seasons. Alaska brings in the number 2 offense, looking even deeper behind the numbers. Mexico City doesn't really lean on Matt Wilson that much. They're more Ray Bentley, churn out the yards, make life easy for Matt. And then on third downs, they're like, Matt, here you are, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 33. Just convert, and we'll get back to running the ball, chewing the clock, making life easy for our defense and keeping them fresh on the sideline. Mexico City got the number 16 passing offense, number 3 running offense behind that. Alaska comes in with the number 2 run D. So, yeah, we've been kind of decent stopping the run. But some running backs have had a lot of success running the ball against us. I don't doubt that Ray Bentley will find, certain creases to take advantage of. Hopefully, we can kind of mitigate the damage that he could do in that area there. Mexico City also has the stingiest turnovers in the league. They turn the ball over the least amount of times in the league, and with 11, they also have the best turnover differential at plus 13, excuse me, which doesn't bode well for us. We got to make sure we control the ball and don't get too happy wanting to give it away. Alaska, again, number 2 passing offense. We throw the ball a metric ton, and we throw it to anybody and everybody who's open. We don't run the ball very well. We're dead last at rushing the ball. So Mexico City, whose run defense is kind of suspect as well, we won't be able to take advantage of that. So we're going to have to find a way to matriculate some yards to make the life of Ron Cochran easy against that elite Mexico City secondary. It's an unenviable task, but I'm gonna keep grinding. Playbooks aren't due till tonight, so after the podcast, I'm gonna get right back on it. Have the playoffs on one TV and just grinding away, trying to make sure we can find a way to eke out a win. Seeing that we both are of the star kicker family, it might come down to that. Whichever star kicker has a chance to win the game at the end.
May as well just morph into a game of Australian football. Ramos, how now you feeling coming into this game against old mighty RX right here?
Pretty much similar to him as far as, it can be decided with a last-second field goal, because when you look at the information here, basically everything points out to be that way. We are two teams that, as Mighty said, we are built a little bit completely different actually on offense, as we like to run the ball a little bit more. Alaska throws the ball more. Ron Cochran, number 2 in the league in passing yards this year. And they have very good receivers. And I'm not only saying about Klein or Merrill, but their tight end, Yasin Clifton. He's been the guy who in the last month or so has been really I'm not going to say their go-to guy, but it's really been a guy who on third downs, on 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7s, can really get that first down, and that's something that we need to take care of. On defense, they have a very underrated secondary, obviously led by Ryan Davidson. He's a really, really good rangy corner, number 44. So, it's going to be a chess match. I think that the team that keeps things balanced, because here's the thing, Stanley Nordelos can catch the ball, and when he's in the through line, he's dangerous. We've seen time and time again how Cochran looks at him on the flats. Number 25 makes the catch, gets a touchdown. So that even the non-contracted players is something that we really have to look at. They even have a defensive lineman in the non-contract, Pierre Leon. I'm pretty sure that's his name, number 95. He's really, really good, even as a non-contracted player, and obviously big sexy. So we need to take care of number 69, which is never fun to do, playing against number 69. So it's going to be very, very good, a very good game, chess match. I'm expecting a low-scoring affair. Probably is going to be something like 19-16 with some field goals, because both defenses can stop the opposing offense because they're really, really good. So we'll see. It's going to be a very, very interesting game on Monday night.
Well, before we get to all that fun stuff on Monday night, we have some fun little games happening. Well, tonight, first up we have the Queen City Corsairs taking on the Sioux Falls Sparrows up in South Dakota. Mighty, how are you feeling about this game right here, looking on the other side of the board? Well, if whoever wins the game between Mexico City and Alaska plays the winner of this. So how are you feeling?
First, big ups to Jason and AJ getting over that hump last season. I know it left a bitter taste in both y'all mouths, and y'all rectified the ship and figured out what was wrong to get back into the second season, into the big dance, as some folks like to call it. You're facing a very old rival here in the Queen City Corsairs. Queen City brings in the number 3 offense, Sioux Falls, number 5 defense, as always expected, top 5 defense in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls brings in the number 5 offense, which is nicely balanced team. Queen City brings in the number 10 defense, which is, unusual for them, where so some plays can be had in that secondary if Sioux Falls is able to buy time for Julian Tyree to pick apart the non-star corners that are there. Queen City, makes no bones about them wanting to run the ball and pound away at your defense with Ash Odom, bringing the number 2 running offense. Sioux Falls, not bad themselves. They have the number 5 run defense, so that star-studded second and third level of defense of theirs is going to be put to the test and put to work, having to slow down Ash, and they have to make sure they don't get too nosy because Mike Daggs and Chris Curtis, can make plays if that secondary tries to play in one-on-one. There are plays to be had there. Conversely, Sioux Falls has to make sure that they keep the actor, the sensation, Robert Renford, involved either via the run or via the pass to make sure that Queen City can't get too pass-centric and start backing those DBs off the line. In this game, I like Sioux Falls to get past the first round. I believe this is going to be this won't be the first time. But let me rewind a little bit. Queen City is 2-2 all time against Sioux Falls, but they're 2-1 at Sioux Falls, which is kind of odd because usually home teams dominate the matchups there. So this is the chance for Sioux Falls to kind of even up that record against Queen City at home. I don't doubt that they'll be able to do so, but they got to be careful to not fall into that trap. To remain balanced, because I know you might start licking your lips and then thinking that you could take advantage of that secondary, and lo and behold, next thing you know, you've thrown 3 interceptions and you got a ball game late in the fourth. So remain balanced. Sioux Falls has a great chance to get too pass happy. Queen City can steal this one, especially with them being on the road. But I do really like AJ and Jason to get that W tonight.
Alrighty, and you know what, Ramos, how are you feeling about your current Eastern Conference rival and your former Western Conference rival duking it out?
Yeah, I will not, predict or say, I think this team's going to win. I think that team is going to win because I'm going to be helping Alvin Washington calling this game later tonight. But what I will say is that the safeties of the Queen City Corsairs, they need to be ready. Zane Dowdy needs to be ready for those deep routes that Sioux Falls loves to do. They do the post route and the corner route and the post corner and anything in between. So those safeties have to be to the challenge because they need to help those non-star corners. Otherwise, it can really be a field day for the Sioux Falls Sparrows. On the other side, Queen City likes to run the ball. We all know that they like to run the ball since season 1. And Sioux Falls has 3 linebackers. So I think as far as Queen City goes, they need to play a little bit different than what they have done without changing a lot of their team's identity, because you still have to give the ball to Ash Odom. You still have, need to play Queen City football. But at the same time, I think that Queen City needs to probably throw the ball a little bit more, probably catch those linebackers on their heels with a pass probably to Mike Daggs, or having those wide receivers going through that inside zone, guys like Curtis and all those dudes to kind of keep those linebackers on their heels, and then, run the ball and try to conserve the football. So not going to predict it as, I think this team is going to win. I think we'll have a very good ball game. 2 great teams historically, some brilliant coaches, and very excited for this game tonight.
Alrighty, and before we wrap up this whole shebang, this whole shotgun winning we're having right now, it's going to be right after this. The Tulsa Desperados are taking on the Houston Hyenas, and of course the man probably most known for popularizing that pronunciation, Mighty. How you feeling about this whole shebang right here?
This one here, oh man, how can I say? Like, when I looked at this matchup, it's like Dion facing the old mentor and DR Sim. You got 2 scoops wanting to run that defense and tired of being disrespected. And it's like, who's going to bring it? Now, understand Tulsa they were able to, win last week after kind of going on a skid. Hopefully they were able to rectify what it is. Houston, they got in the playoffs, but I don't think they like the way they got in. They would have probably, would rather won a couple more ball games to kind of have a better standing. But hey, you're in there now. Let's get down to business. Houston brings in the number 7 scoring offense. Tulsa has the number 8 scoring defense. Tulsa has number 6 scoring offense. Houston has number 7 scoring defense. So it's going to be a good game there. It's a very even matchup. Houston, though, we know they love to run the ball. They have a big play threat at running back. Whenever he gets the rock, it's electric. He's eccentric. There's a chance for it to be an explosive play, 10 or more yards, even to the house. Tulsa's pass defense has been a little lackluster as of late. They're number 15 in the SFL at giving up the pass, but they're still number 2 in the turnover differential. They take the ball away. Houston must be careful when throwing the ball that Charles Ball and the rest of his cohorts in that Tulsa secondary don't get a hand on it, because a tip pass becomes an interception. It's a quick minute. Charles Ball, X factor in this game. He could easily take over the game on both defense and special teams. So Houston got to be careful there. I like the veteran presence in Houston. D.R. Sims been here. He's been to the title game. He's been itching to get back ever since. 2 scoops, tired of the disrespect. He runs that defense. I have no qualms and believe that he'll have that defense prepared to take away the pass plays of Tulsa and force them to go the long ways to have to score. So nothing easy will come to Tulsa tonight. I don't know if Tulsa will be patient enough to continue to feed Dion, on the ground game or even in the swing game, to take their shots when they're there. I don't like Sir Charles to stay patient. I believe he'll be eager to test that secondary where Ryan Michaels and the rest of those guys back there will pounce and make him pay. I like Houston in this one to come out with a W.
Alrighty, and now finally before we go, Ramos, how are you feeling about this game coming up in just a couple minutes?
Yeah, I will agree with Mari as well. I think that the Houston Hyenas is better in presence with DR Sim and 2 scoops. I think they will be able to get the job done. I like Houston in this ball game. I think Tulsa has to, as Mari was saying, control the ball, give the ball to Deion Hawkins. You don't want to test Eddie Gage. And I think that ultimately this is Ahmad Chima's game to lose. If he starts throwing interceptions like crazy on that Tulsa's very talented secondary, it's going to be problematic. But if Ahmad Chima can limit those turnovers, get some first downs, play smart football, I really like the Hyenas. I think they move on. So yeah, give me Houston.
Alrighty, and with that, folks, that shall wrap up this week's edition of the SFL podcast, presented by APM Music, coming at you live through Twitch. And of course, why not stay on Twitch? We got some great football between the Tulsa Desperados and Houston Hyenas coming up right now on the SFL Network. Thank you for tuning in, and have a happy weekend and Easter if you're celebrating it tomorrow.